Hi everyone, welcome to the Oscar Labs channel, where we will cover everything data science and analytics. My name is Steven, and in this video, we're going to practice SQL. This is the first video in the SQL series, where we will be doing practice questions together on SQL. This portion often comes up in data science and analytics interviews, so let's get started and practice together. I'll go ahead and share the link to the questions so you can also follow along on your computer. So this question today is from the interview query website. I'm going to do the customer orders question. As you can see, companies like Amazon, Chewy, Disney, and Nextdoor have asked this question before, and it's a medium difficulty. So let's get started. As you can see, I went ahead and pre-populated a lot of this stuff, so you don't have to wait and see me type stuff around. But I'll go ahead and spend time explaining how we can do it and what are the ways in which we can write this query. So let's start with reading the question first to try to understand what we have to do. So it says, write a query to identify customers who placed more than 3 transactions each in both 2019 and 2020. And they give you 2 tables, the first one being the transactions table. Seems like it contains enough of the columns related to transactions, and then the second table is the users table pertaining to users. The output that they're looking for is a customer's name column. Okay. And it seems like we can join the table using the user ID from the transactions table and the ID from the users table. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and start formulating some of our queries. So for this question, I think there are 3 main ways in which you can go about, and I'll explain each method. The first method would be the CTE. A CTE is a common table expression, and it's a temporary result that you can reference later. I like to think of it as a pre-query to a query. And notice that I've jotted down a few notes for my reference. Even though it's a little repetitive, I think it helps you to stay constrained and focused on what we have to deliver for this query. So let's get started. So for the first method, we will be writing the CTE first. Remember, this is sort of like the pre-query to the actual query. So what we've done here is when we write a CTE, you always have to start with a with. So we're calling this CTE a transaction count. And we're selecting the UID, the name, and in this case, we're using the case statement to get the sums of each year. Notice that we've used the function year to isolate for the year 2019. As you can see, the created at column is a date time. So it's not going to only contain the year, but also the date and the time. So year is used to extract only the year. And what we're doing here is we are summing when you see this 2019 value by 1, and anything else would be a 0. So you are summing in increments of 1. So the first time we see this would be 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And we're doing the same thing for the year 2020. As we've alluded before, we are joining the transactions table to the users table with the UID for users, and the transactions table would be user ID. We group by the ID. Group by 1 means the first thing that we selected. In this case, it would be ID. And we also have this having filter where we're specifying people who have placed more than 3 transactions each. So greater than 3 for 2019 and greater than 3 for 2020. So this was the hard part, writing the CTE. Now that we have the CTE, it's pretty easy. We have to select the name from the CTE table, and we will rename it as customer table because that's what they're looking for, their output, from the CTE table, which is the transaction count. So let's run this code. Okay, I'm getting an error. Oh, I think it's because I have this query also running. I'm gonna comment that out. Let's try to run it again. And there you go. So we get the customer names, Crosby and Nishat Goodman, and that's the correct answer. So that was method number one, using CTEs. Now let's go to method number two, and that would be using subqueries. It's pretty self-explanatory. So instead of using a CTE, which is sort of like a pre-query, we are going to use a subquery, which is a query within a query. So to illustrate this, I think it'll be important to go from the inner layer to the outer layer. So as you can see here, the inner layer is the query where we use the sum case statements like we did before to isolate for the years 2019 and 2020. This will give us a count, but also the user ID. As you can see, we're grouping by one, again, by the user ID, and we are also joining it by the user ID from the outer query by writing this. So once we have the inner query joined with the outer query, we can go to the last part where we are saying transactions greater than 3. Transactions greater than 3 in 2019 and also transactions greater than 3 in 2020. So this should also be good. And there you go. You get the same results as before. So the last method is using having. We've used having before in the first method, but this is a method without using CTEs nor subqueries. So let's walk through this solution. So notice that we're using distinct to get rid of any duplicates here. And notice that we are selecting distinct, name, from transactions. We joined the user table again using the user ID and the ID. We have the first filtering clause with where. Again, we extract the year from the date time type, created that, between 2019 and 2020. We group it by user ID and also year. And we do an extra layer of filtering using the having. We're saying that the count asterisk, in this case, count for all 2019 and 2020 has to be greater than 3. So this asterisk will encompass both fields for 2019 and also 2020. So if we run this query, this should also work. And there you go, we get the same results as we did previously. So there we go. So those are the three methods that we covered today. The first one was the CTE. The second one was using a subquery. And then the third one was using the having clause. So thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to keep seeing content like this. Feel free to write in the comments if you found this video helpful, and if you have any requests on the kinds of videos you want me to make, that would also be great. Thank you and see you in the next one. Bye.